Yes, yes, we're live, we're live. Oh, committed the great faux pas of leaving the audio on in the wrong place. I think we're live. Hello, everybody. There's four. There's four waiting. I think I don't know whether notifications went out for this or not. I mean, it's gone live, so I mean, it should have sent out some. It should have sent out some notifications, shouldn't it? So we can always. So you enjoyed the video. I mean, obviously, it's the sort of thing where yeah, you might need to go back to it. Yeah. Well, the thing is that well, yeah, I don't like to go around all the channels that I don't really visit very often. That I don't visit very often, and just put links to stuff. It's kind of like Carlos was. I want to investigate the TV and AV thing more. Not not a problem. Let's just let Pip finish spamming the stuff. Carl is in a conference call with the office, so his lurking is worse. Right. Funny thing, this is a premiere recording to YouTube. Oh, well, yeah, YouTube is like. I think YouTube is being really funny today because YouTube says they're not getting enough data to maintain my stream. Yeah, um, seem to have no problems at all going out from this end. I'm getting a good solid green from thingy from OBS. Oh, well, never mind. Um, it all looks all right. So, um, I am hoping people have some questions for me. Uh, Carl is wanting to know about a bit more about shutter priority and aperture priority. So, when would I use shutter priority? Is probably the question. Um, I use it like I said, I use it when I need to actually control what the shutter speed is. Sorry, I'm looking. I'm looking at. what I shall do quickly. He says, let's turn that virtual background off. There we go. No virtual background. Now I can turn and look at the screens without bits of my face disappearing. Okay, so when am I going to use TV mode? I'm going to use TV mode on the occasions that I need to set a specific shutter speed for an effect. Usually a slower shutter speed than what you would expect to see for a slower shutter speed than the fastest shutter speed you might possibly be able to use. So, as I say, my biggest one is if I'm shooting aircraft with propellers, I like to see the propeller blades blurred. So I won't set a shutter speed faster than 160th of a second. So at that point, I could use shutter priority mode, set the shutter speed to 160th, or if it's a helicopter that I need to use really slow shutter speeds, like say a 60th of a second, I can set that shutter speed and the camera will then find me an appropriate aperture to use, probably with the lowest ISO setting, but yeah, auto ISO is useful at the time as well. Then I know I'm going to get the exact shutter speed I want for the amount of blur. I'm trying to think where else you might use it. But yeah, that's the thing I would use shutter priority for the most, is when I want to keep the shutter speed to a specific place. Yes, it would work for photographing streams to get that awesome soft effect in the water. However, for that also you might need to use a neutral density filter, which is essentially sunglasses for the camera, because to get that soft effect in the water you need to have shutter speeds down around 1 to 2 seconds, and even when you turn it down to the minimum ISO 100, many days you're not going to get down to that shutter speed, even if you go to the smallest aperture your camera's got, and yet that's not something you're necessarily going to want to do either. So yeah, that's when a neutral density filter is handy, because it allows you to slow the shutter speed down even more in bright light. As I said, my camera spends most of its time in aperture priority. That way I can set what I will usually do. I will set the aperture to give me the depth of field that I want, and I'll set an ISO that I know will then give me a shutter speed that is acceptably fast, that I shouldn't get motion blur from the subject or motion blur from camera shake. Don't always get it right, but then that's the fun of photography, isn't it? If you got it right every time, it would get a little boring. So yeah, AV mode I set, and the reason I set it is because that way I know that I'm always going to get the aperture that I want. Whereas if I used program mode, although in program mode I can rotate the dial and get any acceptable aperture and shutter speed combination that I want. Every time I take a new photo, the camera is going to go back to grabbing the settings from the program mode. So you have to make that adjustment every time you take the photo. Whereas if you move to aperture priority or shutter priority for your programming, you get the shutter speed or the aperture that you wanted. And Pip's gone to grab her camera. Yeah, Dora, as I say, P mode is fine, but I definitely think that shutter priority and aperture priority are the way to go when you are going to rely on the camera to do to set the light, to use the camera's light meter to set the exposure. So yours is a Sony. Yeah, which model? Hold on, it's good. Yeah, PA. I'll tell you what I'm going to quickly do, because Google is my friend, isn't it? Sony A100. A100 manual. There we go. Oh, okay, I'll accept your cookies. No thanks. Manuals. Yes, Carl. RAW is the best mode for photographing when you want to do post-processing. In fact, with Canon cameras at least, because their software is so well designed, hi John, you can actually, the Canon software default is to, if you shoot RAW, when you put it in the software, you get what would have come out of the camera. Oh. PDF operating instructions. There we go. Oh, there we go. I have the Sony operating instructions right in front of me. So now I can talk to Pip and answer specific questions that Pip has on the camera. Oh. Well, yes, that's the thing though. This is the problem with these cameras. There's lots of buttons, and like I said, most of the time, the shutter button and that front dial button are going to be the two things that you're going to actually need to touch. Okay, let's have a... Right, the you've got the ISO 200. Yeah, that's okay. Oh no, hang on, Pip. I'm going to... I mostly use it to. I first installed it so that I could use the dual ISO option to get expanded dynamic range from the camera, um, and I do use it a bit for the video, especially on the 550D. But mostly it's that, and also it has a function that allows you to lock the exposure value and in manual mode, and then turn the front dial, and it will adjust the shutter speed and aperture in opposite directions, just like it does in program mode, but with the camera locked in manual. So it's really handy at places like air shows where I want to shift from 160th of a second shutter speed down to a 60th or a 20th of a second, um, while keeping the exposure the same. So I only put it in for one or two little things, but I also use it now for the intervalvometer stuff that it does, so that I can do those time lapses. So yeah, it is. I find it quite useful. I can't get a proper manual for Sony. It's just giving me a. It's just giving me the. It's just giving me the. Um, yeah, it's just giving me the. Well, you can always turn your camera on and show me the buttons. Um, yeah, I mean the dial that says PA something and M. Is it PASM? Yeah. So the P is program, the same as it is on the Canon. Yeah. The A will be aperture priority. The S, as I said, will be. Oh, they can't hear you. Yeah. Um, oh, my apologies to everybody. Um,
Oh, back to front sideways.
um,
There they are.
can they speak again, please, Pip?
Hello.
Yeah, now they can hear you, I think.
Okay. Look
I'm
at that,
pretty,
and the AV things on the back.
I'm pretty sure they can hear Pip now. Can you all hear Pip?
Can you hear me? I never even come here.
I think there is a really big long delay.
Go big lad, right?
Big
Go to
lag.
YouTube. Anyway,
So
that's
yeah,
the top.
so the P is program
Okay.
as the same as on my Canon. The A is aperture priority.
Mhm.
The S will be shutter priority, and the M will be manual.
Okay. There's also an auto, which is what I tended to use.
Yeah.
What?
The auto will be like the auto on my like the green box mode on my Canon,
Okay. Let's put this up.
which basically means that it will set everything for you. It tries to make very sensible decisions on what it sets. You
Showing
know.
you buttons, and it wasn't even showing buttons.
Yeah. The modes that matter are PAS and M,
Okay. And that's that's the other side
and
there.
that's the other side there. I can't quite make out what's on there. Oh,
Mm.
there's stuff.
Yeah. Uh, flash, focus, ISO, WB, DR, and DEC.
Yeah.
Oh, good damn it.
You can swing those round, and then you'll be able to adjust stuff. So like with the ISO, you'll be able to activate it and then use one of the dials to change the ISO setting.
Okay.
Like I said, on my cameras, I have buttons on the top that I press in order to change them.
Really mean.
If I remember correctly, Sony cameras, along with Nikon's, have a minimum ISO of 200, where Canons generally have a minimum ISO of 100.
Ah, okay. ISO auto.
And the WB is also important. That's the white balance. So that you adjust so that you know you have options. It it usually says
Yeah, 200, you're right. I can't go any lower than that.
yeah. Um, that's because that's because Sony and Nikon sensors are a little bit more sensitive than the Canon ones.
Okay.
Um, so you can't make it go any lower.
What's Astro X? Shouldn't she be manning the navigation console?
I think that was a
What do you?
reference to your Bridge of the Enterprise background there.
All right. No, I had no intention of putting the camera on today. I don't even comb my hair or anything. Okay, I'll have a play later.
Yeah,
And
Carl,
welcome, Astro.
I see there's a note that Carl put in there about adjusting the camera while I haven't got the settings wrong. Yeah, that's fine. Just put it back to P mode is where I would recommend going. You know, you can even set it to P mode and auto ISO, which will um, get you good settings for everything without going completely mad. I prefer P to fully auto because P lets you choose whether or not you want the flash to go off, whereas auto doesn't give you the option. It will just fire it. It will just fire the flash up and fire it off for you um, if it thinks you need it. But yes, as people might have noticed, my cameras tend to stay set to. Oh, the other thing is, Carl. if you go into the menu, and I will be talking about this probably in the next 1 or 2 videos, certainly on Canon, there is an option to reset everything to factory defaults. So that's quite handy if you've done stuff and you're not sure what you've done.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I like.
You know, you can reset everything to factory defaults and then put your preferences back in afterwards. There's things I have set up on the camera that are non-standard that make it difficult for people who don't know what's going on to just pick the camera up and use it. One of the options Canon gives you is how you start the autofocus system. So as I said in the video, usually the first half of the shutter press, button press, wakes the camera up from sleep mode if it's asleep, starts the light metering system, starts the light meter, taking meter readings, and it also starts the autofocus system. Now, I spent a lot of my photographic life using cameras that were manual focus, so I like to be able to control when the camera focuses for myself rather than have it just focus when it wants to. So one of the options Canon has is that you can switch the autofocus off that front button and put it on a button at the back. Put it on an autofocus button on the back of the camera, which is what I choose to do, so that the camera doesn't autofocus when you push the first button. It autofocuses when you push the button on the back.
It's going to get his camera.
He's going to get his camera. Yeah.
You think we'd be ready? I didn't have mine either, Carl. I think you mentioned that AV. Did you mention the AV button in the video, Alan?
Yes.
What's that for?
If on the back of the camera, let me grab the other camera because this one's actually got one. On the back of this camera there isn't a wheel, so there's only a front dial.
Yeah.
But this button here at the top, where your thumb would fall when you are operating the camera, is a button that says AV.
Yeah, got one of them.
And you hold that button down, and then you can use the front button, the front dial, to adjust the aperture. But I'll wait till Carl gets back and show him this because I'm pretty sure this is the same. This is the very similar layout to on the back of Carl's camera. This camera doesn't have a wheel on the back and separate buttons. It has what you might call it has a four-way button pad with a bit like a gamepad has.
Yeah.
And again,
So if I do that,
they're multi-option buttons. They allow you to change autofocus and stuff like that, as well as move around in menus.
Yeah, so if I hold that button down and look through the viewfinder and move, I've got a 0, -1, 2, and 0, +1, 2.
Yeah, that's
kind of scale thing.
Scale thing, and it moves. It moves a marker up and down that.
Yeah.
In the video, I mentioned the fact that in most modes, the rear button, or in this case the AV and the dial, adjusts the
aperture.
It's the exposure compensation. So basically, what you can do is you can make it move up and down. You can make the image brighter or darker with it.
Ah, okay. All right.
Okay, so the minus makes the exposure shorter. It gives less exposure, so it makes the image darker, and the plus gives more exposure and makes the image brighter.
Oh, would that be handy if I was taking the picture of the moon or something then?
Yes, basically you use it in situations where where was I? You use it in situations where the metering, the light meter is going to get tricked. So if you were, say you were out on, say it was snowy outside and you were taking photos outside. Well, as I was at great pains to explain, the metering system tries to make the whole image look middle grey.
Right.
Okay, so you're outside in the snow, and it's going to make the snow look grey.
Right.
Which you don't want. So you might then actually set that to +2 EV, +2 stops of exposure, so that the so that the snow shows up as being white rather than grey.
Okay. We're just going on about her AV button. Right, that's cool. Good to know. Something else I can practice with. I had every intention of joining the camera club, but then Miss Corona appeared.
Yeah, I mean a lot of camera clubs are not really good places to go to learn photography. Because they don't. A lot of camera clubs don't do the this sort of the basic how to use your camera stuff. They're more into looking at people's photos and judging them and that sort of thing.
No, my town judging would be the best thing.
Yeah. I mean the best thing if it's available in your area can be a basic photography class from the adult education people.
Oh yeah. Might be.
Yeah, a lot of those places they'll do a basic introduction to photography with somebody there to show you how to use your camera.
Yeah, I'll look into that. That's a good idea. Cool.
So Dora in AV mode and in aperture priority and shutter priority on the Canon, the AV button on the back, if you are in I think it's if you're in AVT in aperture priority, shutter priority or program mode, holding the AV button on the back should adjust your exposure compensation. Which is the little notch on the plus and minus scale that is in the viewfinder and on the rear screen as well. If you go into manual mode, the AV button allows you to adjust the aperture instead of the shutter speed. And if you've got Magic Lantern installed, which I believe you have, let's go into his Magic Lantern. In the exposure section of the Magic Lantern menu, there is an option for exposure lock, and if you hit that, it will lock the exposure, and you have the option of it adjusting. You can have it will adjust the shutter speed, and then you adjust the shutter speed, and it will adjust the AV, and then if it runs out of aperture, it will adjust the ISO. So with that on, I can then be in manual mode, and I can he says, and it's not. It's not doing it, so maybe that doesn't work in that.
Yeah, I'm like you, Dora. I need to watch it a few times, watch it through a few times. Sink in.
Ah, there we go. Always helps if you get the settings right before you try and demonstrate it. So yeah, one of the things, especially for Dora, that I was talking about, that I use in Magic Lantern, is the ability to set a shutter speed and aperture combination, and then just with the one dial change each one around, so that I can quickly go from like 200ths of a second, or 160th, and then I can go down to a 60th of a second, and it just changes the aperture at the same time. So I'm not changing the exposure, I'm just changing the combination of shutter speed and aperture that I'm using. Turn that back off to make sure I don't get caught out by it. Oh, I know that it takes a while for it to all sink in. That, yeah, the AV button on the back of the camera, as I say, yes, Carl, the switch on the lens AF/MF, that is autofocus and yes, Dora. Okay, I'm going to answer Carl's question first, and then I'll come back to Dora's question, because I'm jumping around a bit and I realise that's not good. Let's finish Carl's question. Yes, AF and MF, that's autofocus and manual focus. When the lens is set to AF, if it's a Canon lens, generally it's not a good idea to try and turn the focus ring with it in autofocus, unless you've got one of the better quality Canon lenses, because you're going to be trying to turn the motor at the same time, and the motor system doesn't like it. No, it doesn't work on Pineapple. Sorry, Professor Pineapple.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Glory.
Dora, yes, with the Magic Lantern, it's locked exposure in manual mode. It's really handy if you don't want to change the exposure, but you want to change your settings.
So Dora's question was the locked exposure in M.
Yes, a locked exposure in M. I as I said, that was I demonstrate I blah. That was what I was demonstrating to Dora with the in M mode, where you can turn the dial and the aperture changes and the shutter speed change together so that the exposure remains constant. It works just the same way as it works when you turn that front dial when you are in program mode, but in this case you can do it in manual mode to keep the exposure constant. Because very often when you are shooting outside, especially during the day, the light doesn't change. The light that's falling on the scene doesn't change very much during the day. So once you've set the exposure level manually, you might not have to change that for quite a long time if the subjects are all in the same lighting. But you might, if you need to use different shutter speeds and apertures to get different effects, it can be really handy just to lock it all together. Yes, Carl, you could have probably read it in the manual, but sometimes you just need to ask people, don't you? Yeah, I mean, almost everybody's got a camera, because I mean, almost everybody's got a camera on their cell phone these days, and everything we talk about with regards to these, to cameras that you can change lenses on and do stuff with, still applies to a cell phone camera, and sometimes a cell phone might be my camera of choice. Oh, a lot of the time, the cell phone camera is my camera of choice because it's the camera I've got with me. Well, Professor Pineapple, how about maybe we have a little session at some point in how we use our cameras on our cell phones, what they're good at, what they're not good at. Would that be something you would be interested in finding out?
What kind of phone you got, Alan?
I have got an old Nokia Note 3. I don't actually use the mobile phone very much.
I don't use it as a phone. At the moment, it's my webcam.
Yeah, well, in that case, we will look at how to use your, we'll look at what your phone's camera can and can't do. Again, obviously, I'm a bit stuck because I can only specifically talk about what my phone does, but they're all very, very similar, and I might even be able to borrow somebody's iPhone to help out those of the
I'm of the iPhone persuasion.
iPhone persuasion. Yeah, I mean, my phone, the camera on my phone doesn't do very much either. It hasn't got very many controls. I think the newer they are, the more control you might have over the camera. Ah, Terry's joined us. Hello, Terry.
Hello, my goodness, everybody's up late.
Yeah, very late.
Oh well, 10 to 12.
Yes.
That's all right. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, I hoped that this would be not too bad a time. Kind of just catch the Americans waking up and the Aussies going to bed. So.
I'm never sure how you pronounce that kind of phone that Carl's got.
Huawei.
I don't know how you, is that how you pronounce it? Huawei.
Apparently Huawei.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miro says number 4. Wrong stream.
Yeah, the wrong stream, Miro. We don't mind. I don't mind the number 4. I have nothing against the number 4. It is a very fine number.
It's a very fine number. It's also the number of our black taxi. So there you go.
Oh.
If you're up in the air and need a taxi, number 4. Go to sleep.
That thing I sometimes wish I could get more of. Or at least that thing that I wish when I woke up from it, I felt awake and refreshed rather than about ready to go back to sleep.
Says this is my midnight snack.
So have
We were having dinner the last time I spoke to you.
Have we got any more questions?
Any more? I can't see any. Most of us could probably use our phone camera a lot better if you have so many phones, so many camera apps though.
Yeah, I'm hoping a lot of the basic stuff that I've done over the previous 5 videos, although it can be a little dry and a little, having a little understanding of it helps you, even if it can even help you if you're just using a mobile phone camera, just because you can understand what it's trying to do, what it has to do to get you the results, and so why it does what it does, why it always seems to.
Carl has questions, but not now. He knows where your Discord is.
Yeah, that's good. I plan to do one of these sorts of things, sort of maybe once a month, to help people out. And I'm afraid that yes, the videos will have to go to fortnightly. Yeah, I'm going to do I will do a depth of field video, Dora. You can have as much as you like on depth of field.
Terry Davis says, I heard there are different shutter types.
There are indeed different shutter types. There are focal plane shutters, and there are the other type.
Whatever they're called.
It doesn't. Yeah, the type of shutter that's in the lens actually sits where it actually also acts as the aperture diaphragm as well. I'm so annoyed that my brain has decided not to go there. Sorry, Terry, but yeah, focal plane shutters is what you find in most cameras, because they sit over the they sit just in front of the sensor at the focal plane. Bacon.
Alan, is Travis playing truth a good photographer?
I would have to say that as a technical photographer, because he's trying to do technical photography, I'm afraid he gets an F.
That would be, I know.
That would be a no.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah. And yes, Dora, 2 types, this one and the other type.
Hi, Demon Orb. Any questions about photography? Alan's here to answer.
Yes, I've got to stop watching that chat. I've got to keep watching the other one so that I can see the questions as they come in at the right time, or I've got like a 20-second delay. So, have we got any more photography questions?
Not at the moment, no.
I shall endeavour to have a little bit more notice next time so that people can prepare their questions.
Yeah. Maybe you could put it in the beginning of your next video. Say after this will be a Q&A or whatever.
Yeah.
Or such a day.
Well, yeah. I shall put in the if you have, we'll be doing a Q&A. If you have some questions, I mean, even if people want to give written questions, in the comments for Q&A. Again, that would be really good. Especially written comments so that I know what the question is in advance, because it's so much easier to prepare your answers, or at least know what the answer is going to be in advance rather than having to think about it.
Well, you might get some off your last one anyway. So just told them to put it in the comments.
Yeah, I tend to put the questions in the comments all the time.
Yeah.
But
Dora says, don't make us do homework.
I'm not going to make you do homework, Dora. I'm going to make me do homework. That will be me doing the homework, because you'll have asked the questions beforehand. And of course, people can always stick the questions in the in my Discord as well.
Yep.
I can always make a Q&A questions channel. That will make life easy, won't it? People want to ask a question, they can stick a
And you can
question
refer
in
back
there.
to it in here.
Yeah, and of course, the one question I won't be answering is, how do you make a Hasselblad work in space? Because I think we've already answered that one. The thing that really gets me is, right, they don't seem to be worried about all the photography on the earlier missions, Gemini, and that. It's just the moon.
Okay, Irish Drew's got a question.
Why would there be audio to visual lag in my video camera?
Oh, Terry.
Yeah, well, there shouldn't be.
But then YouTube being a dick today.
Yeah, I mean, if you are literally recording into the camera, the camera should be syncing the audio with the video. If it isn't, you've got a problem with your camera. Use speech to type. Yeah, Terry, that would be. Yeah, I know you don't like to type, Terry. I don't like to type either. But I limited the Q&A to Pip being in here to help me out. Simply because if you get lots of people in asking questions randomly, it gets even harder than trying to do it via the text.
Camera will bring ships back over the horizon.
I know the answer to that one. The one attached to the aircraft that can go up in the sky, so that it can see further around the ball that we live on. The really, really big one that we live on. speech to type, but his microphone doesn't understand him all the time.
I've never tried it on the computer. I do it on the phone sometimes.
I've never tried it.
The notes were coming out on audio before my fingers moved on the video.
I don't know, Stu. It's it shouldn't, but
Miro. Stick to typing. Listen to this at night. My microphone would be called that up.
yeah.
You must have a funny accent.
Oh, bugger, Miro did tell me where he's from, and I've forgotten. It's yeah, he with English.
Scandinavia?
No,
No.
so what I would call Central Europe.
Okay.
But
Romania?
I apologise to Miro that I can't actually remember because my memory
Let's
is
not name
not
European
good.
countries in case you get stopped.
The team that got robbed in the last World Cup. I know that much now.
That wasn't Scotland then.
Yeah, Stu, it would help if we knew what camera it was. Is it a it? That might be it. Slovakia. That sounds familiar. Yeah, that's one of the things. If you might you might be able to do a firmware update, Stu, that might fix it. Yeah. Also, I guess one of the things you might find is that, especially on a cheaper camera, that the audio sync might not be absolutely 100% perfect, and you may find that it's it's out by a few milliseconds, which you probably get away with even on lip sync, but for a musician watching themselves playing, yeah, I can see that could be a problem. Yeah. Um, Again, now I'm going to ask you this is another question is, do you see this error when you watch the video back on the camera itself, or do you just see it when you're watching the video back in your computer, yeah, on a Windows computer? Okay. A quick answer to Terry's question of when do you use the flash on a camera? You use the flash on a camera, or you use flash with a camera whenever you haven't got enough light. So when it's dark is the obvious answer, but also it's really handy to use if the background's really bright and your subject is dark and close, because you can then throw a little extra light um, into the subject. Stu, it could well be an issue with your video player playing the video as well, because I do notice that, Chrome, is really good at screwing up the audio when I'm watching videos. After a while, you you realise that there's a big delay between what you see and what you hear, and it gets worse and worse and worse. Yeah, Carl Evans has got it right. You fill out the subject with the flash. Yeah, yeah, Stu. I would try rebooting the computer, playing the video straight up with no Terry. Sorry. Yeah, reboot the computer. Um, Fire up your video player and try it straight from then. And yeah, check other video. So even if you download a video from YouTube and play it back, um, try some video from somewhere else to see if that lags. Um, and try a different video player is the other option. Um, you could try downloading the VLC video player. That seems to have a pretty good reputation for being um, good quality, and it's got all the codecs you need as well. Um, Terry, the distance is a huge factor for Flash because, as we're all aware, light follows an inverse square function. So double the distance, from the flash gun to the subject, and you get a quarter of the amount of light. So yeah, it's always a good idea to be mindful of how far your flash gun is from the subject. I've just tried 4 players. Um, if it's only the video from your video camera, Stu, then I would suggest that you've got a problem with the video camera. Um, it's it may, your video camera may just not be capable of keeping the sync between the video and the audio that closely together. Yeah, unfortunately, remote diagnosing issues like this can be really difficult because we can't actually see the problems ourselves. If you want to send me a bit of video that you've got an issue with, as a via a Dropbox link or something, I can always have a look at it and see how it plays on my system, and just see whether just see where the situation might be. Always willing to help out like that. Yeah, so the clapper is the clapper is great and solves the problem, especially if you're using a non-synchronized audio source. So if you're using a separate audio recorder to record, a separate recorder to record the audio, and then are dubbing it onto the or matching it up to the video afterwards. Oh, can you really send me pineapples, Professor Pineapple? That would be really nice. I like pineapple. Is it a special camera that I think Terry's asking about the slow-mo guys use? Yes, Terry, that would usually be a high-speed camera. Um, yes, it is a special camera they use because it has because they have very high frame rates. Um, I think some of the cameras that the slow mo guys use can record tens of thousands of frames per second. I think Thunderfoot has got one as well. It's capable of doing like 50,000 frames a second. So it tends to be low resolution, and you tend to need an awful lot of light, awful lot of illumination. But great for recording things like explosions. Yeah, I know, and I think Thunderfoot's second-hand one he bought, I think was $20,000 US. So they're not cheap. Their high-speed cameras are not cheap toys. Ah, NANA has joined us.
Hello, NNA.
Oh, poor old Carl lives in a pineapple-free zone. Um, oh, I haven't seen the capturing the speed of light video. I'm gonna have to go and look at that. I don't watch the slow mo guys an awful lot. It's unfortunately there is so much YouTube to consume that it's really rather difficult at times. Just listening while at work. Well, that's good. So, have we got any more photography questions?
I'm letting them catch up. Oh.
Yeah. I will watch the one with the light going through the bottle.
Freaky.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if you, I guess yeah, because you can slow. I suppose you can slow light down a bit so that you can then get to the point where you might see the photon, where you can see the photons moving. If you've got a high enough shutter speed. Yes, but I can't think of them now. Okay, well, I think we've been going just over an hour now, so oh, best angle to take a photo of the pineapple from. what colours the cameras come in. Right, best angle to take photos of pineapples. All the angles, I don't think there is a bad angle for a pineapple. Maybe directly underneath it, but even then, no, I think pineapples have no bad angles. What colour do cameras come in? Mostly black. Some of them come in a nice metal finish because they're metal. It doesn't really matter what colour your camera is. It's not going to affect how it works. You know, some of the big lenses on like Canon and Sony and what have you, some of the big long telephotos tend to be painted in a white or very light colour, and that's mostly because when you're outside in the sun with such a big lens, if it's painted black, it can absorb quite a lot of heat, which can affect the quality slightly. And when we're dealing with lenses that cost over £10,000, so that's over $20,000 for our Australian friends, you really want there not to be any distortion coming from the fact that the camera body is getting hot. Where are we? Yeah. Red cameras take. Yeah, Red do make some cameras that run at fairly high frame rates. I think they're actually not bad cameras from what I've seen. Unfortunately, though, out of my price range, so not something I'm likely to own and therefore get to play with. But yeah, Terry, that's red as in the camera manufacturer red rather than red in the colour. But I'm pretty sure even Terry got that one. So, if we haven't got anything more, I think we will wrap this up.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your questions. Next time we do one, I'll make sure there's a bit more notice so that people can have their questions ready. Like I say, I will encourage people to leave questions on the Discord or in the comments of the videos. That way I can at least prepare something so that I'm going to be ready to go at the start of the stream with a question or three, with some answers, and then we can go on to the actual questions from the audience. So thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Pip, for being here with me and helping out.
You're welcome. Next time it might be a bit more busier and I can do more.
Yeah. Well, let's encourage more people, and maybe we can find maybe there's a better time that we can find to do it. Who knows?
Yeah.
We can all as a group discuss that on the Discords, can't we? Hopefully.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming, and I will say good night and thank you very much.